You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. Join us and don't miss any part of what we're going to do today, because I assure you, you will enjoy it. But let us know your views on the number of matters that we are canvassing for you this morning. As I get ready to welcome my guests into the studio and on Zoom, let me share with you some brief take. And I say OSP not preventing corruption. The OSP is erected on the basis of popular demand, which the Akufo-Addo administration, whilst in opposition, spoke about and got very many of us interested. We're so excited about it that that opportunity will be given. Many had called for the separation of the Attorney General from the Minister of Justice, because many attorney generals, almost all, will confess to you that they will not be able to prosecute their own. But there are people in government and people in parties that do wrong, corrupt activity that must be punished. So we did need this vehicle. The Constitution also has a command that the states must take steps to eradicate corruption or corrupt practices and abuse of power. That's what the Constitution says. So this was so popular. And when Nana Akufo-Addo took it, ran with it during the campaign, some of us were so excited that we joined it. That if for nothing at all, we will get an OSP that will fight corruption head on. And the appointment of Martin Amidu from, quote unquote, the opposition was sort of the icing on the cake. And people got ecstatic. People within the corruption, anti-corruption, fight space were so very happy. So he started his processes. And we must say, almost all the laws that have been made after the setting up of the office, after the setting up of the office with the first law, that is Act 959, Office of the Special Prosecutor Act, 2017. Almost all the laws, that's the regulations that have been made, you can say Martin Amidu midwifed them. Now, the law's requirements of the Office of Special Prosecutor, there is one part that we don't seem to pay attention to, and that is my concern. And I want to call on the OSP to pay attention to that part. In Section 2, the law says the object of the office is to investigate and prosecute corruption cases. Then, 2, it is to recover the proceeds of corruption or corruption-related offenses. And 3, is to take steps to prevent corruption. Prevent corruption. That is such an onerous task. Prevention of corruption. How does it do that? You have people with a culture of gift giving that goes beyond really gift giving. So how does the OSP prevent corruption? The makers of the OSP law then took time to provide certain things in the Act itself and the regulation to help the OSP in this direction. So in the regulations, the OSP was asked to, in receiving complaints, do anti-corruption programs. Supposed to do anti-corruption programs. I don't remember the last time the OSP undertook an anti-corruption program and called citizens or the media to attend and to help. Education and information of the public. Supposed to be educating and informing the public. Part of the process to prevent corruption. Publicizing detected acts of corruption. When it detects acts of corruption, it's supposed to publicize them. These are supposed to help the OSP to prevent corruption. To prevent corruption. Help all of us. The OSP is supposed to act on an investigative journalism report or source. I believe that all of these are geared towards making the OSP do the job of preventing corruption. So this morning, my call is to the OSP to do the other aspects which is important. Prevention, they say, is better than cure. Get all Ghanaians to change their attitudes. It is a veritable way of fighting corruption. I conclude by saying that, of course, I have spoken about what appears to be a well-choreographed attack that's been launched at the special prosecutor by significant persons in the NPP, some on government payroll and working in the presidency. I'm asking, what else or how else shall one define interference in the OSP's work when people in government continue to say his work is not being interfered with? Especially when the silence of the presidency or cabinet is the loudest endorsement of the attacks, now elevated to bare insults directed at the person of the special prosecutor, and utter disregard for his office. There are hirelings that are on a sustained mission that lowers and encourages disdain for the special prosecutor and the office by members of this regime, the party, whom the hirelings have influence over. You can criticize the SP and the office relying on factual matters, but certainly not projecting pure lies as the basis of the shameless abuse of his person and professional competence, and the contemptuous and nation-wrecking conduct in the guise of criticism. The party and government is happy about what is going on with their own people, doing this to the OSP. The SP is of the status of a court of appeal judge. I think you lose the moral right to criticize the NDC for criticizing judges in an objectionable fashion, or such that it tends to destroy the institution of the judiciary. Such height of double standards must be stopped, and those who have influence must speak to those who must hear. These hirelings show such disrespect publicly for a class of the elderly and elder statesmen simply because they are or perceived to be associated with a different political persuasion. This disrespect is even extended to chiefs. Only chiefs of a certain ethnic background and perceived political persuasion. Your silence is an endorsement. For those of you who say the OSP is turning into a certain monster. We thank God for a monster, because corruption is such a monstrous thing that you need a monster to fight. And that's my take. We'll be right back.